Hey, and welcome everybody. This is the live recording of our prepper segment for episode 284. We are recording this Sunday at ABN Army Surplus, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We're going to be getting started here in just a second. Going to be doing two things. First one, we're going to be doing a live ad for the episode 283 and 284, and then we'll be doing the prepper segment that will air on 284. Be getting going here in just a second. Okay, here we go. Coming for the live ad in 5. So we're recording here live at ABN Army Surplus, as we do every Sunday. So Gary, what's been new with the store, man?
Well, lots of stuff was always happening. We have got an active store. First and foremost, I want to let the folks know that we do have 2 new additions to our store. Chris and Kurt, and hopefully as you call in or send emails, you may get to communicate with them over the next few years. We are happy to have both on board. Both have the military experience we wanted. Both have the computer skills experience we wanted. So we're very pleased to have 2 new members of our staff. The other thing is that we're coming up on Thanksgiving, so it's time for what I call the pre-Thanksgiving sale. And that means that I need room for some stuff I'm bringing in for the Christmas holiday. So we've got some things that are going to be 25% off I want to tell folks about.
Okay.
While they last, original SWATs. We've got some boots in a couple of lines that are the 9-inch high boot with the side zippers. We've got a couple lines of those that we are going to be selling at 25% off. So instead of a 110-ish, you're looking at, 80-ish, 70 something for a pair of boots. Pretty good price. And we wanted folks to be aware of that. And then the real biggie that starts on Thursday of this week, and this is the big one for all the listeners. We have true spec pants that normally sell for $61. These are the really nice, high quality tactical pant. That pant I bought 75 at a special price. So I'm able to sell them for $36.99 we're going to be selling them for. But it is only while supplies last. I got about 4 or 5 colors. So we've got some coyote, we've got some black, we've got some kind of sheriff brown, we've got some khaki. We got a variety of sizes. So 75 of them. Once they're gone, they're gone. But instead of $61 a pair of pants, you're looking at $36.99 a pair of pants, which is darn near my cost for this 75. And we're doing it to help introduce our true spec line. We've got one of the largest true spec lines in the upper Midwest here at ABN. We're proud to have them. They're really a good quality pant. Tactical. Police officers use them. Sheriff's departments use them. Wonderful pant for general everyday. And the nice thing about it, Paul, that I like more than anything else is it's the kind of pant. Not only is it tactical, so you can use it at work, but it's a nice enough pant. You could go to Thanksgiving dinner with your folks' house and wear the same pant. They look that nice.
Very cool. So that's starting on Thursday the 13th then, right?
That is correct. Thursday the 13th at noon, we go until those 75 are done. Yep.
So if somebody wants to get a hold of some of those true spec pants or maybe want to talk to you about anything else here at the store, how do they get a hold of you?
First and foremost, give us a call anytime, 605-357-8855. Or, of course, send me an email, gary@abntactical.com.
Right at 3.5 minutes. Very cool. Okay, prepper segment. Now we're going to talk about skills.
Skills you should have.
Okay.
Yep. And some things on how to acquire them. Wool blankets, 45, 55, and 65. Is that the new one we just brought in?
No, it's on top of the racks.
on top of the racks? Way up. Oh, there?
Like a jacket rack.
Yep. Those will be the $65 ones. Yeah, I got to get them priced. I'm sorry.
Okay, and I think we're ready to go.
Ready?
Okay. 5 seconds. Hey, and welcome back to the Prepper segment of our show. We record this every Sunday live at ABN Army Surplus. And of course, you can watch us on YouTube. We usually start these at around 6 in the evening. We're starting a little later this evening because we had some other interviews to do. But you can also stop by and see us do these live in person every Sunday at ABN in Sioux Falls. Gary, we wanted to talk on the Prepper segment this week a little bit about the skills you should have in your prepping repertoire.
Yep. A lot of people, as you know, are prepping these days for a variety of reasons. And oftentimes they will get whatever supplies they need, start building their bug out bags or start building a bug in type supplies. But just as important as the equipment, the food, the water, the preparation for your shelter, the rest of it is the skills that go along with it most people probably don't have.
Okay. So, for example, what are a couple skills that people should have that most don't?
Okay. Most don't have first aid training. They may have gotten some years and years ago, but they haven't followed it up. It may even have been years since they've done CPR. So that's one of them.
Well, and with that one, that stuff changes over time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sure
The CPR you learned any older than what, 2.5, 3 years ago is no longer the CPR that has been medically proven to be the most effective. So
that is correct.
If you haven't had CPR lately, go get it.
Yep. I agree 100%. So one of the first things to take a look at is the kinds of skills that you need to have are oftentimes going to go along with the types of equipment that you carry. For example, everybody in their bug out bag's got a knife. When was the last time anybody sharpened it? A skill you should hone up on, how to keep your knives sharp. Everybody has a first aid kit. Take a basic first aid class. American Red Cross, your local school, every community has a basic first aid class somebody can get into. Cooking, practice with your equipment. How do you start a fire? When I was a Boy Scout, I learned to start a fire. In the military, I learned to start a fire. But how many 30, 40, 50-year-olds, when was the last time they actually went out there and had to use fire starter to start a fire rather than point? She's used to cooking on gas, or she's
Right.
used to cooking on electric. What happens if you're going to cook over sternal? How long is it going to take to boil water on a propane stove, for example? How well is that propane going to work at 20 degrees below zero? Or the sternal going to work at above 10,000 feet? So, get the stuff out, practice with it, learn how to use the equipment you've got in your survival kit. One of the things you and I kind of talked about, and Sue, just before the deal, books. A lot of good reading material out there. I get, when I teach my big survival classes, people will give me crap over this because they'll say, what's the #1 best survival manual out there? And to this day, I still say it's the Boy Scout Field Manual. Go to your local Boy Scout office, pay $20, get your Boy Scout Field Manual, and I'll tell you, it has 99.9% of everything you ever really needed to know about basic survival skills in that one manual.
The problem I see with books, and everybody, they think of the books as, well, and they're probably smart in this. If things go south, the internet probably won't work, so I won't be able to look up a YouTube video on how to do it. That's pretty smart.
Oh.
However, if you're going to try doing this stuff out of a book, the time to be doing it is not when you really need it.
That's correct.
If you want to get the book, cool. But once you get that book, start practicing.
Read it, start practicing. And that's the nice thing about the field book, because like we've got out here now, we've got the survival manual from the U.S. military.
Right.
Top notch, but dull. Black and white, dull. Military guys have to read it. Is it full of a lot of information? Yeah. Is the information presented in a really nice, comfortable way? No. First aid book. You've got the First Aid for Soldiers book there, so you can kind of show them. Wonderful book. Wonderful. Is it any better than the American Red Cross book? No. It's a little drier. We prefer it in our store because it's a little bit more concise and specific to a survival situation for a soldier, as well as the survival manual being the same way. But if you pick up a couple of books and read them for enjoyment, which is why I like the field book, because the field book is the kind of book that mom and dad can sit down with the kids and they can look at the pictures, they can read about a subject, and you just take a different subject every week. Hey kids, how about fire building? Hey kids, how about basic first aid? You get a couple bandages out, you work with the kids, they have fun doing it, and they're learning some of those skills that you really ought to have. And you ought to have them down pat, but I know people, they don't, and they won't. But at least if you've gone through a couple of times with the family, and then if you've got to go back and refer to the book later on, it's going to be easier to refer to it, easier to refresh that memory, easier to, because you've done it a couple times hands-on. So that's one resource. Another one you mentioned right there, in today's day and age, YouTube videos, a ton of them available. We're going to be starting to do our own here as well that are going to be subject specific, everything from how to sharpen a knife to how to make your own fire starters at home. Outstanding resources, also blogs. A lot of disaster. Now, take it with a grain of salt because there's a lot of bloggers out there.
But Gary, isn't everything on the internet true?
Oh, absolutely everything on the internet is true. The most difficult thing I find about the internet stuff is oftentimes they don't take into account that the people who are teaching the class are diehard survivalists, or writing the blog are diehard survivalists. We teach to the average person, the person who's not a diehard survivalist. The same way we put together the Go kits. You know, my idea is it's a 70-year-old man who doesn't know how to use a darn thing, and I put the kit together so when he unzips it and he has to use it, everything is self-explanatory. Skills that you need should be the same way. Get books, read them, watch the YouTubes, go to a class somewhere where you can learn some of those basic survival skills, practice them a few times so you know what you're doing, and then build yourself a little reference library, something you can refer back to on occasion. And when push comes to shove, besides the stuff that you're hunkering down with, make sure you're hunkering down with a couple of 4 or 5 good emergency disaster preparedness books that you can reference when you've forgotten something and say, how did they do that again? Oh, yeah, I remember doing it now. There you go.
And the one thing you said in there that I think is the most important is the practice. You know, yes, watch a YouTube video, then do it. Make sure you can do it. Make sure you can do it, you know, right. And, you know, fire starting, watch how they do it on a YouTube video, and then go do it. Make sure you can start that fire, because, you know, the last thing you need, you had a really tough day. You had to get the hell out of somewhere. You're out in the middle of nowhere. You're cold. You're tired. It's getting dark. You got a lot of pressure on you.
Yep.
If you haven't actually done that before, what do you think your success is going to be?
That's absolutely right. Speaking of done it before for success, another skill that people have a tendency to slip by, navigation, or what we call orienteering. They have a lot of different avenues, and I'm going to give 2 examples. First of all, they have orienteering clubs everywhere because it's a fun activity where they actually get together and go to a county park and lay out a course and run the course and compete in orienteering events. There's also car events called road rallies that use the basic skills exactly the same. So if you and your honey are 55 years old and you want to do something for a weekend, find a local road rally. And what you learn from it is compass, map work, compass work, bearing, understanding where you are to get from point A to point B. Those basic orienteering skills. If all the electric in the world goes out and you're stuck somewhere having to get to someplace else, you're going to need to be able to look at the map, use a compass to at least give you a line of sight direction to get you there. So another skill worth practicing.
You know, a lot of people say that because of GPS, that's not necessary anymore. But I'm going to say 2 things. Number one, GPS, if you're relying on the GPS on your phone, well, you got a very short battery there, short-lived battery there. Your average smartphone that is GPS enabled, you can run them about 5 to 6 hours in a GPS type mode, and the batteries are going to die. If you're relying on a car or truck GPS, you might have a little bit longer. You might have about maybe 8 hours,
Maybe 8 hours.
and
yeah.
then that thing's going to die.
Yep.
If you're like an on foot type situation. The other thing is GPS. Now, this is what the GPS started as, is something military.
Correct.
The Air Force actually started it. They put up the satellites, and they are for military use. And so the military controls them, and it wasn't until the late 90s they would work, but they'd give you maybe within 100 yards of where you at. Now they've got the system where they've got it this descrambled enough where it's accurate within 10 foot or so of where you're at. The military, my understanding is accurate to within a foot of where you really are.
At least within a meter. So
Yeah.
3 foot by 3 foot square, they could pretty well drop anything right there.
Right. Now, if the military turned it on, do you think the military might be able to turn it off?
Turn it off. Exactly.
So if it comes down to a case of civil unrest, don't be relying on your GPS, because if the government gets on a whim, they can turn that thing off.
That's right. And the nice thing about compasses too, and maps, in learning to read, besides the fun a family can have doing it, it's not expensive addition to your pack. I mean, I've got Lensmatic military compasses here that are, just under $200.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got a perfectly good map reading orienteering compass sitting on my wall for $7. And it's any range. The silver I carry with me, I carry a silver compass. Wife carries a silver compass, and we carried a little higher end one. That's only $99, and that's the higher end one. I have 3 or 4 that are below that. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to be able to get a good compass. And they're going to work regardless of who's controlling what satellites or whether or not there's electric power. That compass is just going to work.
Yep. Are there any other skills you can think of that we should be telling people
Well,
about?
there are dozens, but we could go on for an hour. We're already kind of pushing the level, so we might hit this back again on another day for some more basic skills and kind of take it from there. But those are the biggies. You can learn some first aid, learn to be able to start a fire on your own, even under, like you say, crappy conditions. Pick up some resource manuals so that you can learn about those other types of things. Learn a little bit of orienteering, a little bit of map reading, so you have some understanding of where you are and what's going on. Learn to sharpen your tools, take care of your equipment, use everything that you've got in your pack a couple of times. Practice with it all, from the ace bandage to the stove. Make sure you're comfortable with it.
So is this something that, now we're talking skills? Now, this is not necessarily something that is covered in the prepping 101 that you do on the third Wednesdays of the month. But is there something that ABN is going to be doing to cover these?
Yep, we actually do a survival skills class the first Wednesday of every month, where we go over those exact skills, the basic 101. So the third Wednesday of every month is when we have our disaster emergency preparedness class, and we go over the whole gamut of things. And then the first Wednesday of every month, we do a survival skills class. In fact, I've got some pictures I'm going to post up on Facebook tonight from our last one here. We had a whole bunch of young kids showed up for it, and they were just delightful. They spent 2 hours. They learned all those skills. They went out there and started a campfire in our yard, got it going, started roasting marshmallows. We had a very, very good time with that group. So
very cool. Very cool. Well, I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this segment, and we'll be back next weekend with another one. Right at 15 minutes. Okay, YouTube viewers, thank you for joining us, and we will be doing this again next Sunday. And come in and really,
anytime, guys, join us. We'd love to have you.
Come join us. And if you are able, YouTube, is worldwide, but if you're a Sioux Falls person, come by, join, see us do this in person. We'd love to have you down by the store. We're at ABN, which is just south of the arena. If you look for the big American flag on West, we're just to the west of that flag. We're near the American Legion. It's on
just north of the American Legion parking lot. Yep.
You bet. So again, thanks, and join us again next Sunday.
Bye, folks.